To the United Nations Climate Conference, where African leaders took center stage to demand climate justice and greater support from richer nations. While Africa is responsible for not even 4% of global emissions, it remains the most vulnerable to global warming. Young activists are playing a major part to highlight the crisis. We met one woman leading the fight against climate change in Nigeria.
My name is Oladosu Adenike. I'm an eco-feminist, climate justice activist, and an eco-reporter.
Using a video blog as her fighting tool, Oladosu Adenike is one of Africa's most vocal environmental activists. Having studied agriculture, the 27-year-old has always had a love for the environment. But it was after meeting Greta Thunberg at the 2019 COP conference in Madrid that she was inspired to take further action. Standing alone, she started the Fridays for Future movement in Nigeria.
All what we want is to have climate justice. It's where we are going that matters the most, irrespective of the country where we are from or our race. We are all aiming at the same thing.
1 year into protesting every Friday and giving talks, Oladosu realized that there was a lack of knowledge about climate change on the continent. So she started her own Pan-African climate justice movement and website where she writes about how Africa specifically is affected.
Just like the clashes between the farmers and herdsmen, the survival issue for resource control, the shrinking Lake Chad, and every other crisis happening within Africa that goes unheard. Let people get to understand that we have a problem in our society and we need to solve those problems right now.
As an eco-feminist, Oladosu's work also focuses on how environmental rights are connected with women's rights. She regularly visits female farmers to teach them how to care for their environment and adapt better to the changes. Her greatest passion is inspiring children and getting them involved in climate activism. At schools, she teaches about recycling and planting trees.
After listening to her, and I know the importance of planting of trees. Her lecture inspired me to stop cutting down trees and planting trees. When I grow up, I will plant trees in my house to stop erosion.
For Oladosu, climate education is the only way to secure their future.
In decades to come, there will be the next leader, there will be the one at the forefront of the climate change justice movement to be advocating in their different perspectives.
Oladosu believes that everyone, regardless of age, can and should do something to protect the planet.
And Adenike Oladosu joins me now from the COP26 conference in Glasgow. And as mentioned in the report, she is a Nigerian climate activist working to highlight the climate emergency in Africa. It's great to have you with us on DW News. So you spent the last few days at COP26. What are you hoping will resonate most with world leaders? And do you think your voice has been heard there?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm coming to COP26 as a Nigerian youth delegate, which makes it a fact that I am representing Nigeria, one of the most vulnerable countries to the impact of climate change. And I'm looking at the fact that all commitments here should be in short term and not a long-term vision of 2050, 2070. It's a denier, you know. In recent time, we have seen that delay is now a denier. And postponing climate action will be the most dangerous thing to do now because it's something that we can neither isolate nor quarantine from.
You set up an initiative to inspire young people in Nigeria to protect the environment. Why is it so important for young people to play an active role to combat climate change?
Yeah, it's very important because we have been seeing that bringing them up sustainably is also another way of tackling the climate change crisis, because I believe that if you don't know that a problem exists, you can't solve it. So hence, they are the future leaders that we need to champion more sustainable solutions. And that is why we need to bring them up sustainably through climate education.
Now, we saw with the Paris Agreement that so many countries didn't meet their pledge to combat climate change. How confident are you that it'll be different this time around?
You know, it's not really, it doesn't end there and shouldn't end there. Rather, we should see all of these commitments to become a reality, because it's now more than 5 years since the Paris Agreement, and we have still not seen clear reaching ambition to make this a reality. And so this commitment in the current COP26 is, until when it becomes a reality, then that is when we know that, yes, such commitment is welcomed. You know, any commitment taken here shouldn't end here. It should move further to make a short-term commitment and not just making long-term commitments. It should start now.
Well, 2 landmark agreements were decided on at COP26 this week. It includes efforts to curb deforestation and to cut methane emissions by the end of the decade. Now, Central African countries like Gabon and the Ivory Coast are doing what they can to protect the rainforests. Let's take a look at this report.
They're called the lungs of Africa. The continent is home to the world's second largest rainforest after the Amazon. The trees of Central Africa store more than 5 years' worth of human carbon emissions. But preserving these precious rainforests is proving a challenge against economic pressure. Although Gabon has declared itself a green country, with its oil exports declining, logging is on the rise. It's heartbreaking because we're destroying part of the environment. But what else can we do? We cut down the trees because it's our job. We have to sell them so that we can make a living. The government insists logging is part of the solution and can be done sustainably to maintain Gabon's extensive forest cover.
We might cut this one tree here in this hectare. We cut 1 to 2 trees per hectare, and then we leave the forest alone for 25 years to regrow.
Another part of Gabon's strategy has been an export ban on undocumented timber. In Ivory Coast, authorities have turned to the military for help in the fight against illegal logging. Some 650 soldiers make up a green army dedicated to forest surveillance and intervention. The government eventually realized that deforestation was reaching new heights. Since independence, Ivory Coast has lost 70% of its forests. Educating local communities about the fragile forest ecosystem is one of the squad's main tasks. An ecosystem that's vital not just for Africa, but also for the rest of the planet.
So at the moment, we are seeing smaller targeted agreements on protecting rainforests, cutting methane, and also helping vulnerable island states. Does this show some sort of significant progress in tackling climate change?
Yeah, significant progress, but needs to become a reality as quick as possible, because it is not enough when we just make a declaration, an agreement. But pushing it to become a reality is the most important part of any agreement. And that is what we want, to become a reality at our various home countries.
All right. Adenike Oladosu, thank you very much for speaking to us on DW News Africa.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.